me about Total Theatre. I'm going to start off with the history of it. The history of Total Theatre, it was used a lot in the 20th century. It was used to describe performances that aspires to be more artistic, and it tries to influence people to be more artistic with their performances. And it tries to overwhelm their audience, so it gives them a better experience of the theatre. Total Theatre is, and always will, has been, about music, dance and acting, but it's also a lot about the scenography, the plastic of the art, the costume, the masks, lighting and the playhouse architecture, and the configuration of the stage. And a lot of the work, when it first started, was coming from the rising of Wagner's intention to produce, I can't pronounce this word,
Gesamtkunstwerk.
Yeah, that word. Which translates to total work of art in his musical dramas. The major theatrical theory of Total Theatre was from Artaud, who in the 30s demanded that the stage abandoned the logistics of a normal theatre production.
This is just a quote that I found researching Total Theatre. It's movement, visuals, music, text are all equal value.
And it's at the bottom.
Yeah, we've got some good quotes there. Although Total Theatre was created in the 20s and the 30s, it started to take off in the 60s. So I'm looking at the three dissenting groups of the 1960s, which was the equal rights, civil rights, and the hippies. The civil rights movement happened in the 60s. A lot of black people, there was a lot of segregation. They couldn't get employed because they were black. They wouldn't be able to go on public transport. Just loads of things like schools and whatever. Black people just weren't getting education. And they were also denied the right to vote. And then obviously Martin Luther King was the leader of the group, and I'm sure you'll all know him with his I Have a Dream speech. Through this movement, they were just doing lots of riots and protests and marches, and there was a lot of chaos in that times, especially in the United States, and they were just fighting for justice to end the racial segregation. Then we have the women's equal rights. Women's in the 1960s were just getting really fed up of just being stereotyped as housewives and mothers. They wanted to be something more. They wanted to be working and to have equal opportunities. So if they went for a job interview, they'd have the equal chance of getting it if they were up against a man. And also they wanted equal pay as well, because women were being paid less than what men were. So they were doing a lot of protests and strikes as well, so there was a lot of chaos in them times as well. And they just wanted to change the way that society thought of them. And then we've got the hippies, and they began in the USA, and they were usually white young adults. They rebelled in that time because they believed in peace and love and sexual liberation, and they just believed that everybody should have their own personal freedom, and they didn't like how everything was going with the segregations and whatnot. They just believed in equal rights as well and opportunities. And also at this time there was a lot of sex, drugs and rock and roll, and the hippies were also really spiritual as well. And then in this time, Martha Graham, she began the revolution of dance. She also started in the 1960s, and obviously this was the decade of freedom. She also pushed the boundaries in her movements and her dance work. And obviously at that time, a lot of people were fighting for equality and whatnot. So in her work, usually it would just be the males lifting the women, but this time it was equal opportunities. The women could lift the males if they wanted to. She also created modern dance, and she's a huge inspiration to dancers at the moment. Also, her work at that time, it was all very straight and pointed toes and not a lot of freedom to move, whereas she pushed the boundaries and she did a lot of contracts and expands, and she did a lot of her work on a spinal cord. So we're just going to show you a little warm-up exercise from Mark Graham.
It's not very long, don't worry. To start, with just your feet apart. Your arms are going to go up, so about here, up, out, and down, and back up again. And step your left leg back. And do the same thing, but bend your knees. And up again. Now we're going to do some push-ups, so we're going to go to the right side first, and you're going to go here. So you're pushing out, and your arms go up, and you're opening out. You go the other way. Then out again. Go the other way. And then one more to the other side. Here, and then you exhale here, and then you lean to the right side, and you straighten your arm and leg, and you just lean it over, and up, and back down again to the other side, over, and down. And that's one of, it's like a mixture of Martha Graham's techniques, like as a warm-up.
So I was looking at how did the culture at the time affect the way Total Theatre developed. As we mentioned, Total Theatre is all about making all elements, such as music, movement, voice and light of people, amount of importance. In 1930, Anthony Artaud wanted theatre to become more sensory and appeal to the audience more. So he wanted to use all of the senses and thought people depended too much on scripts. So they tried to expand using gestures and movement and music, and not just exactly the script basically. During this time, drugs became more easily accessible. During the war, drugs such as amphetamines were given to soldiers in order to combat fatigue and mood swings. Towards the end of the war, they were also used to fight depression for soldiers. So as with most things, it started to become available in the black market, so people started to start using drugs who didn't need depression and whatnot. And Anthony Artaud was known to be quite a drug user and was often in and out of asylums, and he battled with drug problems. He was also on detoxification programs. This gets me a question. Was he then under the influence of those when he was trying to re-evaluate theatre? He had a lot of time to think on his in the asylums, and the drugs did make him have an alternative way of thinking. So maybe this is where he started to come up and assess an alternative way of theatre. At that time, mental illnesses such as depression were being recognised. Even though people still call them like lunacy and people were insane, Artaud grew up with mental illness as well. And ways of curing it at that time were using straitjackets and restricting movements and that sort of thing. So that's what makes me think that maybe him using gestures rather than just the voice was also another way he went to the theatre, because he couldn't use it when he was younger, so maybe he was trying to rebel and make the most of it when he was older. In 1970, that's when the Total Theatre really started to take off, the student career path. And he built upon Artaud's idea, and he started to experiment with theatre cruelty as well, involving the audience and becoming more in your face rather than just people watching it and that sort of thing. At the time, there were a lot more changes where they had all rights, as Poppy said, with the hippies, and the moon landing, and Margaret Thatcher rose to power. It was also the age of exploring theories and ideas, which is mainly why Total Theatre began to flourish, because people were more open-minded and wanted to experiment with new things. And at that time as well, pop, rock and R&B grew in the music scene, and they started to expand to different subcategories, so there's more range of music. Stevie Wonder, Jackson 5 and Led Zeppelin were key artists at that time.
Okay, I looked at the practitioners, some of the key practitioners within Total Theatre, and one of the main dance ones has been about. As you all probably have heard, that she's a pioneer. She's German, and she's one of the founders of dance theatre. She helped revolutionise dance. She wanted to work freelance, but then she got offered a key role in a school, like a dance school. The main guy, he left, and she and took over. There's a quote there at the bottom. Basically, she says, it's not how people move, it's what moves them. So she's saying it's not what, it's not the movement that she gives them that, you know, if there is a clip, if you want to click on YouTube, but it's basically, you'll see what. It's just a short. I didn't want to show it all because it's quite long. But yeah, that's just kind of showing the water on the stage is helping them move. And also, she created a new style of dance which combined acting and opera. One of her recurring themes were relationships between male and female. So a lot of her work was, you know, between male and female. She classes her work with her dancers as a love relationship, and a lot of people refer to her as the Queen of Dance. The next one is DV8, founded and directed by Lloyd Newson. They're kind of different, DV8, to that, you know, they're contemporary based. They're kind of different to most contemporary based dance, you know, theatres and things. They, in particular, the company has been known to incorporate dancers with disabilities into their pieces. For example, in the film Cost of Living, which is both made by and features company participants. They are funded by Arts Council England and are members of IDC and Dance England. The company has produced 17 highly acclaimed dance pieces which have toured internationally and for award-winning films for television. Next one is Frantic Assembly. They're kind of a mixture, really, of dance, music. It's kind of, you know, it is total theatre. They create thrilling, energetic and unforgettable theatre. The company attracts new and young audiences with work that reflects contemporary culture, vivid and dynamic. Frantic Assembly's unique physical style combines movement, design, music and text. In addition to its productions, Frantic Assembly operates an extensive learning and training programme, introducing 6,000 participants a year to the company's process of creating theatre in a wide variety of settings. It's formed in 1994. It doesn't really want to read all that out. You can kind of see it for yourself. But yeah, they're total theatre and they're different to most. Again, they do it all.
So how's it affected theatre? Looking at it for now, we see it's made theatre more accessible, so by introducing all the elements so they're all supporting each other, so you're not just watching a dance show or an acting piece or singing piece. It's made theatre more accessible and draw more people in because it's more there for people to see. People have got different interests, so let's appeal to more people. It's also made it more interesting because it's got different things in. People can explore more, directors can explore more, so there's new ideas coming up, new inventions, and people wanting to go and see this because it's drawing a lot of attention to it.
Yeah, I do know what we're doing. We're going to show you a video of DV8 and their work. One of their pieces is called Can We Talk About This? But obviously the internet wasn't working this morning and the keyboard doesn't work at the moment, so we can't show it yet. But I'll just explain to you like a brief summary of what it's about. It's a dance theatre piece and it's a play about free speech in Islam. And it caused a lot of controversy with it. In the piece, there's a lot of choreography that never stops and it's weaving in and out of ironic patterns, and also with their speech as well. And with their speech, they're also saying a lot of rituals from the Quran. And all the females in the piece have also got purple on their skin, just to show bruised skin, because the bit that they're actually focusing on is a ritual from the Quran saying that it's acceptable for men to beat women. So And obviously it caused a lot of controversy about dance as well, so that's one of them from DVA. And then you had one as well.
Oh, and then yeah, I had one at Frantic Assembly. It was called Pool, then No Water. It was devised for a college group to carry on and take on tour from Plymouth, and it was how it was a bit like the one that Jay showed you, but it didn't have water in it. It was like how you would move in the water, but without the water being there. It was called Pool, No Water.